again. Yeah, Ishwar?
Hi, sir. Currently in a press, so I'll just be following, right?
Sure, sure, not a problem. Yeah, not a problem, right? All
All right.
right, let me admit a
All right.
couple
Thank you.
people again. Yeah, not a problem there, Ishwar, right? I'll keep that in mind. So the last class we had, I think I told you all that I was focusing on the definitions, but today I want to reach into moral and financial, if possible, right? So why I say if possible is that a lot of it is going to be based on if you understand the next two definitions. If you understand it, please tell me. I'm going to just ask you a couple of times. If you understand it, fine. If not, we could come back and look at it. But I think the first real content and the first real examinable content is moral and financial. So at least want that behind us today, right? These are not difficult concepts. Financial is actually easier to understand. Moral is easier to understand once you listen and you make some sub notes anyway, right? So let's go straight into it. Um, I would have want to ask you all a question from orientation, and as I'm thinking about one. I did ask you all at the end of the class as well, but maybe I could ask one time again, just to kind of put us in the right frame of mind, all right? So it's an easy question, right? So the question is, where is Nibosh located? Anybody could answer that one? Where is Nibosh located?
In the UK.
In the UK, right? Of course, in England, right? This week here, let me just share something with you quickly. I think I put it. Did I put it to your WhatsApp group? Just give me a minute. Did I post a job for you all on your WhatsApp group? I think I did. Yes, I think I did. Yes, I did. Right? Look at on your WhatsApp group here. Strange, right? Strange. I don't know if you know why I said strange. There are a couple of vacancies out there. Actually, I sent one, but there's another one, right? I sent one to you all. If you all see any as well, please post them up in the group chat, right? There's one in the WhatsApp group here, asking for Nibosh. You know how strange that is? I mean, it's strange because remember, we are in a Caribbean country. We are not in England. We are not in Europe, right? But here you find, let me show you another one. I didn't post all of them. I'll tell you why I didn't share this one with you because it wasn't your subject. It's another one of my subjects that we offer, but it wasn't your course then, right? Trying to find it here for you. I'll just show it over the screen, right? Geez, like a million different things on the phone. Okay, so this one here was the Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago, right? Again, good even to our friends in Guyana as well, but this is one in Trinidad. Manager Health and Safety and Environment, Port Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. You could find it on you could find this on CaribbeanJobs.com. Please do not take my word for it. Go on CaribbeanJobs.com for yourself, right? But why I didn't put this one? Because they were asking for another one of my NEBOSH courses. What just what? They asking for NEBOSH. Could you see that just now? NEBOSH or process safety management will be an asset. Now, again, this school, this little office here, this is the only place in the Caribbean that offers these courses, right? So that's why I say it's strange. I mean, we are not, for those of us in Trinidad, we are not Cipriani College. We are not the University of the West Indies. We are not, for those in Guyana, we are not the New Guyana School. We're not the University of Guyana. But we see the vacancies asking for what we are offering, right? Process safety management. I have a new class starting tomorrow. I have a new cycle starting tomorrow at 1 p.m., right? And they said NEBOSH or process safety management would be an asset. I didn't put this on your group chat because this is not the subject you are doing with us, right? We have this at the Institute, as I told you all. So I didn't share it with you all because it didn't really pertain to you all. But the thing is, the funny thing is that you see worldwide is a NEBOSH brand that is being asked for, right? So let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let's try to get this qualification, right? So we looked at health, safety, welfare. We looked at these. We looked at accident. We looked at incident. We looked at dangerous occurrences, but we didn't look at these two. But these two are important, right? So let's have a read of them. So they say here, what is a hazard, right? They have here a hazard is the potential of a substance, person, activity or process to cause harm. A hazard is the potential of a substance, person, activity, or process to cause harm. But very interesting here, if you look at it, right? The harm has not been realized as yet for it to be a hazard. Like you don't have to wait then. You don't have to wait for somebody to slip and fall to say slip and fall is a hazard. You don't have to wait for somebody to, I'm trying to think of some nice, not too fatal ones, right? Like you don't have to wait for somebody to be there's really no good hazards out here, right? But you have to wait for somebody, I guess, to be affected by noise then, to say that noise is a hazard. Of course, the outcome of some of these things are serious injuries or fatality. The thing is, if you read it, in the companies, right, they actually use the phrase hypo, HIPO, hypo. So what that means is a high potential of the hazard being realized. But the thing is, it's all about the potential. I want you to figure that a bit. Let me break it down for you home. Let me break it down for you home, right? So for those of us who are home, right, we can say that the electrical socket at home always has the potential for somebody being shocked. But you don't have to wait for somebody to be shocked to say it is a hazard. So if you understand that, once there is the potential for somebody being shocked, then we say it is a hazard. Think you understand that? Somebody smoking, no offense, next to a barrel of diesel. You don't have to wait for a fire to say that that is hazardous. Once there's a potential for harm, we say it is a hazard. A spilled drink, a slippery floor, a raised carpet edge, a railing that is a bit rusty, a railing that is a bit shaky. You don't have to wait for somebody to shake it off then and fall to say, well, the railing is a hazard or the wet floor, slips and trips is a hazard. Once there is a potential, we call it a hazard. Folks, you all understand that?
Yes, sir.
Listen to why that's important, right? Listen to why that's important. You see, for your project, remember we mentioned it's a project, you have to get 10 hazards. Some people say 10 hazards is plenty, but it's not plenty because it's not a lot, because the truth is anything around you today could be a hazard, right? The same electrical could be a hazard. Right where you're sitting today, the same slip and trip could be a hazard. You don't have to. So some people say, well, sir, I cannot find 10 hazards in a company. Well, you're thinking about it wrong. You waiting for an accident. It's not an accident we asked you to find. We asked you to find the hazards, right? So lighting, where you're sitting today, temperature, where you're sitting today, the chair you're sitting on, ergonomics is a hazard. Is a hazard, is a potential for things like back pain, right? So once there is a potential, you can get the hazards. If you understand it, folks, could I give you 5 hazards? Right now, there's a reason for me doing this. I'm psychologically trying to tell you that the project is not too hard. It's long. Everything in NIBOSH is long. The exam is long. Remember, they hide up all the answers in the case study. Everything is long, but it's not hard, right? And so if I could just shout, I've actually said about 30, but if you can take down for me 5 hazards, I'm going to shout 5 for you. Then if today is the first day, we have 5 months to go, there's no way that you cannot get 10 hazards. Plus it have a list. NIBOSH actually give you a list, right? There's a document. I will give it to you when we reach the project. There's something called like a guide, a guidance for the project. And in that document, it have the hazard, it have like a hazard pool, right? I call it the hazard pool. Let me just write that word here for you all. There's like a pool and that a pool of hazards that you can choose from, right? So psychologically, I'm trying to tell you that a hazard is anything that has the potential to cause harm, and also that you can more than get 5 hazards, right? So we already mentioned noise. If you want to take noise down, we already mentioned noise. Noise is an examinable hazard, meaning it's a good hazard to choose for the project. Another one we mentioned just now there is slips and trips. That is also a good hazard to use for your final did you all get your notebooks? Remember, there's lots of stuff I will be talking about as the course goes along, right? Slips. Could you finish this one out for me? Slips and trips. Right? This is the name tag they use today. They don't say falls anymore. Slips and trips is what they say today. Right? Slips and trips. What again I mentioned? I may have mentioned maybe electricity. Electricity is a hazard, or electrical as they call it. Electrical. And maybe I could ask you to shout one or two for me. If not, I'll come back and I'll give it up. Right? Electrical is a hazard. Could you think of anything else? I'll tell you if it belongs on the list. If you want to
Chemical
get active,
violence.
say it. Andre?
Chemical or biological?
What about heights or working in a confined space?
Mechanical.
Right, very good, Ambika. I think it was Ambika. Was it Carol or Ambika? I'm not quite sure. I think it looks like Carol to me. Yeah. Andre, perfect. So let's put Andre on down. Andre, there is a category that NEBOSH have. The proper name. I'm not too sure the marker. Look, my hand is not even on the thing and the marker is moving, right? The category is hazardous substances. That's the proper phrase to say. Hazardous. H-A-Z, sorry. A-R, hazardous. The marker is a bit freezing. I'm not too sure why, right? So D-O-U-S is missing, right? I'm going to try to squeeze it in. Hazardous substances. And Andre said it correct. There are two categories of hazardous substances. You have chemical and biological. Now, the fact that Andre said that brings to my mind that he knows something about, or he probably read up something on this course already, right? Andre, you want to share?
Biologist.
Say again?
No, I'm a biologist.
Oh, you're a biologist. Okay. Yes. Hazardous substances, chemical, biological. Okay, very good. So your project would be very nice. I guess you may use a lab. You may use a lab for yours.
Most likely, yes.
Yes, yeah. I have somebody in Guyana did one in a lab already, right? Okay. And then Carol said two things. She said, I think, was work in confined spaces, but confined space itself is a hazard. So this is correct. So this is 5 approved hazards here, even though today is your first day, right? Don't worry about it because there's a list. I'm actually not bringing this from my memory. This is actually from a NEBOSH list, right? So confined spaces. And when we get to your project, I will give you the document that have the list of documents in it. The list of hazards then, right? Confined space, S-P-A-C-E-S, right? Spaces, confined spaces. All right, so let's go back to the psychological reason why I told you all this. One of the reasons for giving you 5 as well is that hazards have set names, right? And if you want to write that down, hazards have like a name. And for NEBOSH, you have to use the proper names, right? So you'll find like in the workplace, we have Trinidad or Guyanese names then, and we use that. But you cannot use that for the exam. You could use that when you are out in the field, but you cannot use the Trinidad slang then, or the Guyanese slang for the exam. You have to use the proper names. So this is 5 proper names, right? Hazardous substance, chemical, biological, confined spaces, slips and trips. Notice fall is not in it. Like we say fall, but the truth is fall is actually not part of it. Fall is not part of the slang then. Noise is one as well, right? I also did mention ergonomics. If you want, you can take that down for number 6. But remember, there's a list that will be given to you when you reach that part of the project, right? Let's get back to the teaching it, other than focusing on the project. So a hazard is anything with the potential to cause harm. Please remember, the harm doesn't have to happen. The person does not have to slip. The person does not have to trip for you to say it is a hazard. Once you see that code, once you see the oil, once you see the water, once you see the chemical on the ground, you can say the hazard is slips and trips, right? I am going to have to take it off though. So if anybody writes in, please let me know. I have to take that off because we have to do something now with the second definition. If you're still writing, I'm going to read the second one, but I'm going to take it off in a bit. So what is a risk, right? They say here risk is the product There's a reason why I stopped, right? Product of the what does product mean in maths? Product is one of the operations from mathematics, right? What does product mean? I'll give you some hint. Does product mean to add? Does product mean multiply? Does product mean divide? Does
Product
product mean,
means a minus,
does it mean to
subtract,
minus?
minus.
Product. Anybody want to help? What does product mean? Product.
Multiply.
It means to multiply. Give me a minute. There's somebody's outside messaging. But I say they're also the classroom, as in the online classroom. Let me just admit them. I was ignoring them before them because I was teaching. Yes, product means to multiply, right? So risk is the product. If anybody working, they would know where I'm going with this. Of the likelihood of a hazard actually happening. Watch this here, right? Risk is the product of the likelihood and consequences of a substance, activity, or process to cause harm. See if you can see this at me, right? Of an activity, of a substance, sorry, the marker separating again, but I wanted to enclose this here for you all. Somebody's on the outside of the room still. Let me just admit them. I think that person is in Guyana. All right, risk is a product of the likelihood and consequences of a substance, activity, or process that cause harm. But watch this up here, watch this. Of a substance, person, activity, or process that cause harm. See if you're seeing this. In other words, then, you can replace all of this with the word hazard. A hazard is the potential of a substance, person, activity, or process that cause harm. But risk is the product of the likelihood and consequences of the same thing, substance, person, activity, or process that cause harm. So what they say risk is the likelihood and consequences of a hazard actually happening. Tell me if you finish the left-hand side. I'm going to take it off and try to explain that a bit more for you. Anybody on the left-hand side still, where we have the pool? Anybody still on that side here?
No, sir.
No? Okay, it gone, in case anybody's still here, gone. Okay, watch me a bit, right? So the question is this then. The question is this. Is there a difference between hazards and risk? The answer is yes. I'm going to show you now, right? There's a difference between hazards and risk, right? Now, for some people, there is no difference. And that's okay. This supposed to be, sorry, that wasn't supposed to be that. That was supposed to be a semicolon, right? For some people now, like in the companies, like you can tell a worker the hazard is slip and trip. And then another worker could say, well, the risk is slip and trip. And that's okay. That's how they understand it. That's not how you have to understand it, or you have to understand it better than that. So the first thing to realize is that there is a difference between hazards and risk. But what is the difference? Let me show you the difference, right? So to show you this difference, let me just give you an analogy, right? Listen to this a bit, right? So tomorrow is Sunday. Today is Saturday, right? Most people would have gone to the market, or most people will be going to the market tomorrow, right? Some people would have gone today. Some markets, farmers markets, then they're open on a Saturday, some Friday, but most people go on a Sunday, right? Sunday, you're going to pick up your bit of supermarket items. You're going to head out to the market, probably get a newspaper as well, right? If you buy any newspapers, you buy it on a Sunday, right? So when you go to the market, you might wonder what have this to do with the example. I'll show you just now, right? So when you go to the market tomorrow, or those who have gone already, you may be picking up, let's say you are taking up some, ground provisions, you're picking up, different types of fruits and vegetables, right? So when you pick up, let's say you are taking up potatoes or ground provisions, right? When you take that up, right? Before you go to pay for it, right? Cucumbers, whatever you will take up, right? Before you go to pay for it, what does the vendor There's a divider here. What does the person do with it? So you have handed them, let's say, a bag of potatoes or wrong provisions. What do they do with it before they charge you the price? What do they do with it?
They wait.
They wait. And folks, that's the difference. The difference between hazards and risk, right? So the farmer will tell you this is 3 pounds, this is 4 pounds, this is 5 pounds of tomatoes, of ground provisions, of potatoes. And that is the difference between hazard and risk. Watch me a bit here now, right? Watch me a bit here now. So let's put a man on a scaffold here, right? We're going to put somebody on a scaffold. I have drawn the guardrails for him, right? So he's in the guardrail, right? He's in the guardrail, but I'm putting him a bit in a weird position, right? He's holding on something here like a sheet of board in his hand, right? We're going to put some cloud up here. We're going to say this scaffold is about 10 feet high, right? So I want you to tell me what is the hazard? What could happen here? Hazard is the potential. What could happen? It has not happened, but what could happen here? What's the hazard?
He
You're
can fall.
taking his hand.
Okay, but what's the obvious hazard? He's on a scaffold 10 feet high. I mean, I didn't draw 10 feet because this slide have writing in it already now, right? But yes, he could cut his hand, so I agree to that. But what was another, like, what's the obvious hazard?
He can fall.
He could
You can
fall, right?
misbalance and fall.
Right,
So.
and fall. So the hazard, please take this one down with me. Watch this. I want to show you the market example coming back here. So the name of the thing, hazards have names. That's why I gave you the 5 before. The name of the thing is fall from height. It's like you go into the market and you said you want tomatoes. So what you're buying is tomatoes, ground provisions, potatoes. It have a name, right? But the risk is the number or the weight associated with the hazard being realized. It's like the farmer telling you 5 pounds of tomatoes. So risk is not a word. Risk is a number. That's why there's a formula for it here. See if you've seen it. Take it on the slide. Risk is a number. Risk works out to be a number. What they do, they calculate how likely it is the person going to fall together with the severity. Some people say consequences. NIBOSH in level 3. Different levels say different thing. In level 3, they say severity. In level 6, they say consequences. In level 4, the process safety course I showed you just now, we say consequences. But it's just a play on words. Severity is consequences. It's just a play on words. It's just another word, right? But for your level, they say severity, right? So what they do, watch me here, they measure, like the farmer measuring on a scale. They measure on a scale of 1 to 5 how likely somebody is going to fall. And they measure the severity on a scale, like the farmer measuring the tomatoes on a scale on 1 to 5. How likely the person is going to fall, and the numbers they get, they multiply it together to get one final risk number. So risk will end up being like 20 that the person is going to fall. So that's why risk and hazard is not the same thing. Hazard is a name, risk is the number associated with the name, right? Do this one for me. I know you don't know the numbers, those of us who are not working. But 1 will mean the person is not going to fall. 2 is going to be more likely the person will fall. 5 is mean definitely the person is going to fall. In terms of severity, 1 is going to be no injury. 5 is going to be like minor injury. 2 and 3 is going to be major, but kind of, like more likely to get severe injuries. 5 is going to be things like death. If the person falls 10 feet high, notice the person that I put here, did I put a harness on him? Does this person have on a harness?
No, sir.
No, he
Right.
doesn't.
And I did
No.
say, even though I couldn't draw the whole thing, I put 10 there to signify this is 10 feet high, right? Anyway, let's talk about the likelihood. How likely you think that person would fall on a scale of 1 to 5?
5.
5.
5? You sure?
4.
I find a little being too mean. 5?
Probably
Uh,
3.
4.
I would say around
I would go
between
with
about two, 3.
About 2? 2 or
Yeah.
3?
Yeah.
No, the reason
3.
why I said, you might wonder why I said that, right? Folks, think about this, right? Don't you all see people doing this all the time in Trinidad and in Guyana?
Yes, sir.
Do they ever
Hey.
fall?
Yeah,
Do
but
they ever
that's always a chance that they take.
Right, but that is it. So that's what we're trying to figure out. We're trying to figure out the chance. That's what we're trying to figure out. That's what the risk is. We're trying to figure out how risky it is, right? But it's not always the person that you see fall that same day. So that's why it cannot be a 5. So I would agree with something like 3 or 4. I'm going to put 3 here, right?
So
However,
are we saying, sir, just to interrupt, there's a kind of probability of what is the
it is
occurrence he could, correct?
actually, yeah, perfect likelihood. Remember, I tell you, they change the words at different levels. At the degree level, they actually say probability by consequences. This formula change. Well, like I said, probability is another word for likelihood. Like if you throw a dice, right? You throw a dice. Like what is the likelihood if you get an a 6? Right? So somebody could say, well, what's the probability against 6, right? So fine, probability is a nice word. So yes, it is kind of subjective, but it is risk assessments. It is how it's done anyway, right? So this is kind of subjective too, because remember, this is just a stick man I draw here. I didn't give you any details. We could look at the man and say, well, he doesn't have on a harness. Like we don't know anything about this. We don't know the person trained. For now, he doesn't have a harness. And for those of us who know scaffolds, this scaffold doesn't have a final guardrail. It's supposed to have a rail to the top. It's supposed to have 2 guardrails then, right? I didn't draw the other one, right?
I,
In fact, I
I
didn't
have a,
draw none. Come to think of
I have
it,
a,
yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
The reason I would have said 5 is because I know any heights after 6 feet you are supposed to have a harness. Plus the scaffler is supposed to certify the scaffolding as well. So that being said, with the drawing with the
Yes,
scaffold, that is why, you know, for those reasons I would have said 5, because you have those things now working against you.
agreed. But still, what we're looking at, so we agree to all of that, right? The scaffolding here is not inspected, whatever, right? We agree to that. But the thing is, even if that is the case, what 5 mean? 5 mean the person going to fall. 5 mean it's definitely the person is going to fall. And those of us in Trinidad, those of us in Guyana, people work like this every day. People climb up height, people climb up trees, coconut trees. They don't have any certification there and they don't fall, right? So to say it's definitely a 5, it's not true. 5 mean the person is going to fall. This person, people have worked like this before health and safety was even around, and they would have not have fallen, right? So to assume it's 5, we have to say the person probably would have been leaning over the scaffold a bit more. We would have said that maybe there's some other things going on there to actually say the person is definitely going to fall. 5 means a definite fall, but in most cases, this person would not fall in reality. This person can get a job done all the time and will not fall then, right? So I'm going to go down with 3. The thing about scaffold being inspected and think fine, all of that is okay. But an inspected scaffold or an uninspected scaffold, that doesn't talk about the person training, that doesn't talk about the person experience on a scaffold then, right? So I'm gonna go with 3. You know, I think to say 5 is not true because people work like this all the time and they don't fall at the end of the day, right? However, if this person does fall 10 feet high, what do you think will be the severity or the consequences? If somebody falls 10, so the question is consequences now, not likelihood. So we finish off with likelihood. So we are on consequences now. If you fall 10 feet high, what will be the consequence? Would it be
About
minor
three or
injuries or would
four
it be
days.
major injuries? It would be a, don't be afraid, don't
So,
be afraid.
so I will go. Let me take a shot at it. 10 feet. Again, if he's a big guy or a big person, I could go with a severe injury.
Yes, I agree. Does this person have on a harness? No. So if you fall 10 feet high, unless if you are Superman, or in the Caribbean or Sukuya, right? Then, I mean, you're hitting the ground. So if you hit the ground, that's 5, right? So if you hit the ground, it's going to be a severe injury. So I'm going to go with 5. The overall risk here, the overall number, the number of potatoes there, the 5 pounds there. See if you understand, it would work out to be 15. 3 by 5 will give us 15. So the hazard is fall from height, but the risk associated with it is 15. See if you understand so far. Now, the only question is what does the 15 mean? What does the 15 mean? I need some more space though. So let me see where I have to take off the guy, oh, I can fit it here, right? Folks, if you have space, please write these things down, right? There's only one reason why we're delaying on this one, which is this is an exam question, right? However, the exam question that came on this is very simple. I'll tell you about it just now, right? So what does the 15 mean? Anybody know what the 15 mean? Anybody working in safety here know what the 15 means? In other words, is the 15 high risk? Is the 15 medium risk? Is the 15 low risk? What is the 15? Anybody working in safety in the class? Anyone? None? None? Okay, so what they use globally, right? What they use globally, if you look at these numbers here, the highest number is what? The highest number in likelihood is what? The highest number in likelihood would have been what?
Right.
And the highest
Five.
number in severity would have been what? 5.
Five.
So then what is the highest number you could get?
25.
25. So it's actually 15 out of 25.
25.
If you number line it, now you could actually research a risk matrix if you're that's chapter 3 anyway, right? Anyway, on a scale of 1, I'll show you a risk matrix just now, right? If you on a number line of 1 to 25, we are somewhere along 15, right? So the risk matrix is calculated from 1 to 25. Numbers in the lower end here tends to be low risk. Numbers in the higher end tend to be high risk, right? And in the middle turns out to be medium risk, right? So high risk is actually counted from about number 20, just to let you know. There's a matrix for this. There's a matrix, like the movie Matrix. There's a matrix for this. We are 15, so we are going to be around here. This is counted to be medium risk. And what we're going to have to do, we could actually put in, as a safety, then you could actually do some measures here, like something is going to be medium to high risk. In the risk matrix, these are shown as yellow to red, so it's not green. They use like a traffic light system. They use a traffic light system. The low is green, so we're not green. So this is not good. Green means go ahead and work. But right now we are, in the yellow to probably the red. And this means as a safety, you have to put measures in place. You have to put measures in place. Like if you were the safety here, you have to get this guy down from here, right? One of the first things you probably want to do is put in the guardrails. Could you write that word for me? I'll try to write it, right? Guard, guardrails. Nibosh is the marker is a bit harder to work with, right? So you want to put in the guardrails over the person, right? You want to put a harness on the person. As a safety, this is what you have to do, right? Stop the work, put a harness on the person. Anybody could think of anything else?
Helmet.
Helmet, yeah. Anything else? What about the harness would have saved him, huh? The harness would have saved him, and if he fall, the harness would have rescued him. Anybody else? Just give me a minute. Somebody's knocking at the door here. I'm going to mute the mic a bit. See if we could get 1 or 2 more controls for me. All right, thanks for your time there. Like I said, this late in the evening, there isn't anybody else working except me. What is it think we could do to this guy? Folks, you all work in safety? None of y'all working in safety in this sense?
You could try to minimize simultaneous activities.
True. Like, for example, why is he holding this sheet of board in his hand or whatever galvanized? We could have probably gotten this up there with some other device then, right? Anybody else?
What about safety hats, gloves,
Okay,
what do you call it?
yeah, PPE. Yeah,
PPE.
okay. Yeah, I'll put PPE there, right? I would have recommended for him. I'm gonna say two more here. I don't know if you all would know it, but you'll cover it as the class go along. One of them you'll know. One of them would have been some training. Like we need to probably make sure that like you all actually mentioned that, like training and certification. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you want to put here some training that the person know what they are doing. And I want to suggest something called a safe system of work. Number
Yeah.
5. Right? We use an acronym if you all are new to safety. It's called SSOW. If you don't know what it is, I'll tell you what it is. No, let me just finish writing it. The human mind can only do one thing at a time, right? Well, one thing when I'm using my hands and talking at the same time. So safe systems of work. If you don't know what that is, it is like job instructions. It is like what we call a method statement. If you don't know what that is either, let's say you don't know what's a method statement. Well, it's like a step-by-step thing now. I would have said step 1, ensure the scaffold is inspected. Step 2, make sure the guardrails are there. Step 3, make sure you anchor your harness. It would have been like a foolproof way then to get the job done. Step by step. That's what a SSOW is. If you all have anybody ever heard about a term called a JSA?
Job safety.
Yeah, but that is a JSA is an example of an SSOW. And sorry to be using so much acronyms, but if you're very new to safety, all of that just means job instructions. The person is given a step 1, a step 2, a step 3, a step 4, a step 5. That is what a JSA is, right? So let's kind of reflect back now at the big picture. Let's get back to the market example. So I said, when you go to the market tomorrow, you are picking up something, items. They have names. Potatoes, tomatoes, what in season? Avocados, right? What you're picking up have a name, and hazards also have a name. That's the first 5 we give you. Noise, slips and trips, fall from heights, electrical, right? So the name is the hazard. Folks, you understand this? The name is
Yes,
the
sir.
hazard, but what's the risk? The risk is the overall number associated with the hazard. So the risk of somebody falling is 15 out of 25, right? You as a student, you as an educated person must know the difference. Let me go back to what I told you when when I started this. What I said is that the average person at work come Monday or come Tuesday, the average person at work, they can say the risk is noise. Let them say that. Because at the end of the day, you're still trying to get them safe, right? If a worker on the machine shop floor, then if a worker in a construction site say the noise is the risk, let them say that. You don't have to correct them. They understand that it is unsafe, right? But you as a student, when you're writing for NEBOSH now, you have to understand that hazards have name, and the rank associated with the hazard is what the risk is. Many people don't know this or not. Well, not my students, right? I told you, you can tell a Shadrach student anywhere. Companies tell me that all the time, right? You can tell a Shadrach student anywhere. And have folks, I heard stories. I could tell all around stories and stories that come back to me. Which one to tell you all? I don't know which one to tell you, but 3 pop in my head just now. Right? I'll tell you one of the 3, but the 3 companies, I'll tell you just one, right? I heard Atlantic LNG. When people go there for like application, if you're applying for safe, well, half of them, in fact, all of them inside they study right here. I won't say half now. I think it's most of them study right here now, right? Anybody on the plant, anywhere you go, pro man, anybody, they came from here. Remember, we in business the longest, right? Not my fault, that's just me. Remember, tell you what happened, right? Some of them, that's how it happened in life, right? I told you all this, I think, on orientation. I wasn't the only one. The pandemic came and took out some of them. That's how it is. I end up being the only one, or finding NEBOSH levels, level 4, level 5, level 6, etc. Right? Anyway, I heard a story where somebody said at Atlantic LNG, they asked who have NEBOSH, well, you have to have NEBOSH to apply, right? But they asked them, this is a story that was told to me, because the students came back here now, right? They asked who studied with Shadrach. and then who study elsewhere, and the people who study elsewhere, this is a story I'm telling you now, that was told to me. I don't know the people and I just telling you, like I show you that vacancy today. You think I know anybody in Port Authority to make them put process safety management as an asset? I don't know anybody there. I honestly don't know anybody on the port. Right? Anyway, they say those who didn't study with Shadrach, they asked them to come out and they showed them the door and they asked them to leave the compound. Right? An Ush inspector told me, he said if he go anywhere and he finds somebody from Shadrach, he know the person know their work. They find somebody elsewhere, but they don't know your work, right? So you all don't make the mistake, right? Hazard is the name, risk is the number. Hazard is the name, risk is the number. That's what you have to know. Anyway, I told you all I was going to reflect on a past paper. There was one past paper with this, right? It wasn't long, so I'll just tell you it, right? What the past paper said. The past paper asked you to calculate the risk of injury to a worker who was working by a machine without a protective guard and with the protective guard. So you had to do it twice. You had to multiply the number twice. You had to give the hazard. I guess without the guard, if you know what a guard is like the covering for like the face of a machine, then like the face of your fan. Like the fan you have at home, the face of that is like a guard, G-U-A-R-D, right? So there's a machine guard. If you have a moving piece of a machine, I would need some more space to draw it if you want me to draw it. The protective covering over that is called a guard. So NIBOSH asks to calculate the risk to the worker with the guard on and with the guard off. So that was an easy question. With the guard on, you could have probably go down to 1 by 1. Right? Remember with the guard on, it could probably come in the green then, in the lower numbers. It could go 1 by 2, 1 by 3, but stay in the green because if the guard was on, if the protective face, if the protective face was on then, right, then the risk would have been in the green then, right? So I don't think that was hard. If you all know what pulleys are, most machines have like pulleys, 2 wrong things like that, but then it's covered with a protective. There's a belt inside of it. Your cars have this, they call it the fan belt, but there's a guard over that, then there's a protective covering over that, right? So with the guard on, they could have stayed in the green, and with the guard off, stay in the red, right? You could have gotten 20, 25, and it would have still been correct. With NIBOSH, just to tell you, NIBOSH is not too much of maths. It's not as if they're looking for 15. There's like a range of answers then. That's why I draw it like this. 20 to 25 is high. I think about 1 to 6 is green. From about 8 going up there is in the yellow, coming up to about 14, 15. That is medium risk. So once you stay within the category, you will get it correct. Folks, you'll understand that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, good. That's it for this, right? That's it for this. I know it was just one slide. But remember, I told you all, I hope you see it, right? NIBOSH is heavy. The content is
Yeah.
heavy. We press it on and now we have 2 more things to do, right? The content is heavy. Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
question for you. I had a old tell me if this what the risk matrix look like. I had one from work here. Is it something like this?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You could find many. Yeah, that's it. That
Yeah.
looks like it. Yeah, that's okay. You could just Google. I could Google one now. Yeah.
And not too wholesome, but I think this is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. You can Google, right?
Okay.
But this is chapter 3, right? So we'll reach to that eventually. But there is something called a risk matrix. What you there? You have likelihood, 2 being unlikely, 3 being probable, 4 likely, 5 almost certain. In terms of the consequences, somebody calling the phone, that's a degree student. That phone is a must have bringing. So in terms of consequences, they have to the top there, they have negligible consequences, minor, moderate, major, catastrophic, right? So don't be too hurry. Folks, also could I use this opportunity? I wonder what Damien called him before anyway. Could I use this opportunity to just mention something here so that we don't get too sidetracked? Oh, I want it to be sidetracked, but I want the sidetrack to be streamlined, right? Folks, remember, you are to get a textbook, right? Let's not forget, your price includes a book. However, based on the foreign exchange situation in the country, I think I told her that I could only order books when the month roll over, right? The reason is that you heard me mention I have other classes, they had exam, we had to pay for them, right? And like you all don't even know my level of worries, right? It's not one class I had to pay for. It's 3 classes I had to pay for, right? Some of them I have them here. One of the class had 19 students in it. By the time I pay for them alone, I used up the foreign exchange. Not the money, the school have money. Remember with this foreign exchange thing, having money and having foreign exchange is a different thing. Watch this here. This is our oil and gas students. This is now, watch it. You see the exam May month, I had to pay for them. This is April. I couldn't let them watch 19, if you could make it out. We have, no, 2 students is added to this. So the list is 17 here at the time I printed it. 2 other students came and we pay for them. So this is just one class and I had 3 classes like this, right? So what happens with the foreign exchange thing now, even though you all have paid us the money, we have it. We didn't spend it, right? But we could only order your books now when the month roll over. So with respect to the risk matrix, right? You will get it on the PowerPoint, but it's also in your textbook. If you hear me say textbook, right? The first priority for when the month rolls over on Thursday is to purchase your textbook. Once the credit card things get renewed, it's to purchase your textbook, right? I have books for you, and I also have books for the process safety class, right? But as I said, this was a strange month, and the foreign exchange in Trinidad, having the money and then having the limit now is a big issue, right? Where hopefully it changes, right? I was telling I know I have folks in Guyana here that they could bear witness to what I'm telling you all. Guyana does not have a foreign exchange problem. Grenada does not have a foreign exchange problem. These people don't even know what I'm talking about. Those in Guyana in this class here don't even know what we are talking about in Trinidad, right? But just bear that in mind, folks, right? I would have loved to tell you today, open your book to this page and you'd have seen the matrix, right? But it will come. However, the risk matrix and stuff is actually chapter 3, not chapter 1. I use the opportunity here, even though this is our very first class, to introduce the matrix. But if you wanted to see it, you could Google it for now. It's in our 3rd element, not 3rd lesson, 3rd element. So by that time, we would have your books, ready for you anyway, right? Folks, let me take this off. There is actually 2 more things I want to do today. Yes, NIBOSH doesn't get less deep. It is always easy. When you step back at this, I wanted to step back. When you step back from this formula, right? This isn't very hard enough. All you're doing is multiplying numbers up to 5. 5 by 5, 5 by 4, 3 by 5, 2 by 5. That's not hard. So NIBOSH is never hard, but it's always in depth. That's the thing about the NIBOSH course now, right? It is a reason why it's the #1 course. There's nothing as deep as a NIBOSH course, right? Talking from experience, you all know, for some of us who read the thing that I wrote and sent to you all, I taught at UE as well. And UE has safety courses, but they have a whole bunch of stuff tied up in it. They have chemistry, they have psychology, they have biology, tied up in it, but not NIBOSH. NIBOSH is just safety, hardcore safety down the line anyway, right? All right, let's get to the other one, right? So the other thing I wanted to say here, there's 2 more things for today. These, right? This one, we will skip legal. Legal is too long for today. We'll do legal next week, right? We're going to do moral and we're going to do financial now. Now, these 2, before I go any further, right? These 3 are doing 2 out of the 3, right? Let me just say this in the correct sense. If you're writing it down, these 3 things are said to be the 3 reasons to manage health and safety, right? They say in the world, there is 3 reasons why people manage health and safety. So if you write anything down, you should write down there are 3 reasons to manage health and safety. One of them is the moral reason. The other one that we're not doing today is the legal reason. And the 3rd one is a financial reason, right? if you are making notes, and I hope you all are making notes, the next thing I wanted to take down here is that this is a trending topic. If you forgot orientation day, I hope you didn't. It's on your group chat. I told you all, as we go through the course, if something is popular for exam, I will let you know. If it is not, I would also let you know. Remember, your course is 4 elements, very deep. But the exam question is only about 8. There's only about 8 exam questions. Some people lucky. I have a passable share to tell if we get some time today, right? Some people lucky, they get 7. Some students lucky, they get 6. You imagine you do a whole course and they give you 6 questions at the end? Anyway, the point about the 6 or the 7 or the 8 is that not everything could be tested. Like you back in CXC then, and this is of course not CXC, this is laboratory. Laboratory is tertiary, right? But it's way above secondary school, right? But I'm saying like whatever subject you would have done, like POB, POA, social studies, not everything the teacher taught for 2 years would come now. It just have certain things that will come. If you did English, remember when we all did English, right? Remember they had a short story, they had a comprehension, they had a poem. I can't remember the rest, right? For maths, they had a fraction, they had sets, they had trigonometry, but every single sum cannot come because there's only 11 questions as far as I remember. I don't know if I don't know if the paper changed, right? But not everything could come, right? So folks, again, I'll say it, moral, I'll prove that to you just now. I'm going to show you one in a passipa. I open a passipa at random. I didn't plan a passipa. I have a passipa on the Zoom screen. But one of the questions in it would be either moral, legal, or financial. This is what is called a trending topic. Let's do 2 of them now, right? So they're very easy, but you have to understand them, right? All right, what I'll do, I'm going to read out these 2 slides first, and then I'll start to explain it out to you, all right? So what moral is, I'm just going to read this slide for you now. So they say, the number of work-related fatalities for the year in the UK, the average number of persons killed, about 220. God rest their soul, about 4 people each week, right? The average number of workers seriously injured is about 30,000 or 1 in every 17 minutes, meaning when we were sitting here, somebody around the world had some accidents, right? Moral seems to suggest that there's an expectation from society for a safe workplace, and that they say can drive a safer workplace. I'm still reading, I'm explaining it. It makes business sense to prevent accidents as opposed to dealing with the consequences of an accident. The average number of days away from work is about 33 million days. Think about the associated cost. If we say the person is working for $1 for the day, which they are not, it meant the economy of that country, Trinidad, Guyana, England, would have lost $33 million. But they're not working for $1 for the day. They're working for more. So it's more than $33 million lost because of accidents, right? All right, folks, let me get into it now, right? So I would need you to make some notes here as well, right? You know, somebody messaged me and asked if it had notes today, but I always have notes to see. Anyway, we record. I hope to put this up for you all. I will put it on YouTube still, right? For now, right? I did also create a Google Classroom. I told and I uploaded the last video on it. I don't like my whole package then being on YouTube then, right? Some could be, but this is your second class. I'll put it still. I'll put it for YouTube. From YouTube, I could share straight to your WhatsApp group, right? Let's talk about moral, what this means. And I want you to listen. And I'll give you some words here to describe what moral means, right? I'll give you about 4 to 5 words here to describe to you what moral means. But you need to listen first, right? Okay, so listen to what moral is. So moral is this. Moral, see, the internet went a bit unstable. So moral, listen first, I don't write nothing yet. Moral seems to suggest that of the 3 reasons to manage health and safety, moral is the highest sense then to manage health and safety. Why is it highest? Why is it the highest sense? Right? Moral is the highest sense because what they say, it appeals to your sense of humanity. So that's the first word. But the marker stick, right? Sorry. So morals seem to suggest that it appeals to your sense, or should I say, your employer sense of humanity, right? Morals seem to suggest that I should not manage health and safety because of the law. I should not manage health and safety because of OSHA. I shouldn't manage it even because of money. I should manage health and safety because the worker that I am over or the worker that I'm seeing on the scaffold is also a human being. So there's a duty then to the sense, there's a duty then to your sense of humanity that if you go back home, I say you here, but it's the manager talking. If you go back home safe at the end of the day, if you are sleeping, your head is on your pillow, conscience clear, then that is your moral sense. However, if you did not do your job as a manager, you saw something unsafe, you knew it was unsafe, you let the worker do it unsafe, and the worker has passed away, God forbid. Remember, tell you I out here long, some of you all out here long too. I have had deaths in companies that I consult for, right? Some of these things were on Facebook, some of these things are public knowledge stuff, some of them hidden up too. Some companies just hide certain things too, right? But how would you feel then as a manager knowing that Frank is dead? Anybody could answer that question? I have realized that Trinidadians don't care. So maybe I'll let my Guyanese students answer. How
It's
would
not
you
a
be?
nice, it's
It's
not a
not a
nice
nice
feeling. Nice
feeling.
feeling, so it's
I
not a
have
nice.
had it, yeah, telling you, I have had it. I had it. I had somebody that passed away in my hands. A worker, but I did my best. I don't know if I told you that. I remember telling you, learn a lot about me as we go along. Not all of these things is booked for me now. I started off, I remember I started working before I started the school, right? It wasn't the other way around. I started off as a worker first. I had somebody that passed away in my hands, but I did CPR until the ambulance came. And if you have done CPR, if we have any nurses here, anybody who have done these things, you know when somebody has passed away. You know. If you want to know how you know, you just know. The body gets limp, you lose bodily function, so you know. But I kept doing CPR because you know what? You know why? The lady's son was right there, right? So that one affected me. I remember that one affected me. How it affected, I remember sleeping away in my car. I slept away, I didn't sleep the whole night. Um, I had to go pick up my kids primary school. They're in secondary school now, right? And I slept away in the car. They remained in school at 3 o'clock. I was right in the car until somebody saw me, the guard or something came knock on, but it does affect you, right? But at least I did all that I could have done. But what about the manager? What about the manager? I'm not saying me, I'm saying, what about another instance and where somebody bag one thing? I could call the companies that had debts in them, right? You might know about the debts, but it have. You know these Alcott had a debt? Yeah. You probably know, you're probably not paying attention. But we all know Paria. We all know Paria, right? What about those managers? How do they sleep at night, right? So what I'm trying to tell you, morals seem to suggest if you are the manager, if you are the safety, and you see the guy we just draw on the scaffold there without a harness, right? Take him down. You are the safety. You have that power to take him down. He might be vexed. He may say, look, you're going to spoil his fun. As a safety, when he realized you were trying to save his life at the end of the day, it will all be worth it then. So the first reason is moral seems to be it's the humane thing to do. It's a human thing to do. Another way you could think about it is that we manage health and safety because it's the right thing to do. It's the human thing to do, human rights. Take this word down. Give me a minute. Somebody is actually in the classroom here, but they have been bumped out, right? So I'm going to try to admit them back into the session. So moral means it's the right thing to do. It's a human thing to do, right? Some people tend to think of it as it's your duty of care to your fellow man. It's your duty of care to your fellow man. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, right? At the end of the day, Can I show you something? A student was messaging me just now during the live, but she messaged me in the week. I want to show you what happened. Oh crap. She turned on disappearing messages. She turned on disappeared messages, right? At the end of the day, there is an ending. People die. Student messaged me and told me her uncle passed away. They have exam next week. So if you wonder why she's telling us that now, right? They have exam next week, right? The same exam. This is one of my November classes, right? 59 years, person got a heart attack and fell off. Asked her, so was the person ill? She said no, right? At the end of the day, then what I'm saying is that we are all human beings then. It's like you what I said, you who are going home should ensure that your workers go home as well. There is a duty beyond the law. You understand that? There is a duty beyond money. By the way, safety does make good money. This is one of the few fields, right? This is one of the few fields you get to be a doctor without being a doctor. How was I doing CPR? I'm not a doctor, right? How am I saving life, right? And you're being paid for it, right? Safety is a good field to get into. Sorry to put a story in another story, right? Anybody know the company called Dumo Enterprises? Dumo Enterprises? Anybody know
Yes, sir.
Dumo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, the safety for that company, her name is Praveen. I'll tell you why I'm going to talk about her. Praveen has been there years now, right? I mean, but she still is young, but she has been with me. She finished up before the pandemic, right? Praveen was working as a, you know, when you go in the drugstore sometime in the pharmacy, for those of us in Guyana, the pharmacy, there was somebody on the aisles. They're not a teller, they're not a pharmacist, but they're just there to assist you. That is who Praveen was. Praveen did that job and paid for her NEBOSH certificate. She paid for the NEBOSH diploma. Today, if you go to Do More Enterprises, ask for Praveen, right? She will say, look, Shadrach talking about you in class again, right? But, of course, if you go to Atlantic, I can tell you other people to ask for. But Praveen had said to me, she said when she got into safety, she said she did not know she could have been paid for taking care of people other than being a nurse. I said, yes, right? She said that she always had that, but she didn't want to become a nurse, but you can look after people then and be paid for it well, right? So that is what safety is, right? So you have a duty of care to your fellow man. It's the right thing to do, the human thing to do. Moral talks about it being on your conscience then, or your sense of rightness, or your sense of wrong, or your conscience. So the last word here is conscience, right? And then I'm going to reflect on now. I'm going to check the chats a bit and reflect on how it comes for exam, right? Could you write any word conscience?
Yes, sir.
I'm not seeing the marker. Hang on a bit. I'm clicking the marker, but it's still on the cursor. Give me a minute, right? Okay, and it disappeared there now. And it disappeared again. Okay, CON SCIENCE. The marker disappeared twice, right? So I'm not going to waste time on it. CONSCIENC. Okay, good. So let me check the chat, see what you all are talking about. Yes, the class is going to be posted. Okay, yes, I think we saw some of those things. You know, we always posted, right, Dick? Okay, very good. The person that put the risk matrix there for us, Justin, thanks very much. Could you share one to the WhatsApp group? Because remember, the live is a live. And of course, you don't have to because anybody can go and research it. All right, let's talk about the exam question now. So how it comes for exam, I'm taking this off, right? Let me see if I get the marker to run now. So this is exam focus. Now remember with this class, there must be an exam focus. Folks, we're not here for a good time, right? If you're having a good time, I'm glad. But we're not here for that, right? We're not here for a good time, right? Remember the end of the day, you have to write a UK-based exam. We almost finished, it's 4 o'clock. Is it 4? Yeah, it's 3:36, so we have some time, right? So let's talk about the exam focus, right? So for the exam, it's easier than you think. For the exam, it's easier than you think. Listen to how it comes to the exam. Remember, you get a case study, right? When they ask you, I hope you're writing with me, right? The question they will ask for you to do is to comment. The most common verb for NEBOSH today is the word comment. If you are an old NEBOSH student, I don't know if I have anybody here. When I say old, I mean, that don't mean you are old. It just means that you're from before the pandemic time then. It doesn't mean there's no offense to anybody, right? So before the pandemic, the most common verb was the verb outline. The teachers that have spoken about outline. The question is outline. Now it's not outline. Now the verb is comment. So what does comment mean? Work with me with this one. Comment means to give your opinion. Comment means to give your opinion. Right? Give your opinion. The most common verb, that's why it's an open book exam. Because they want your opinion. It really don't have a set answer. And if you all get all of that.
So in other words, they want to put it, they want the students
want
to
your
put it in their
thinking.
own, your
they
thinking
want
and to
your-
put it in your own words.
Correct, yeah. Give your opinion. OPINION. They want your opinion. Right? So, tell me when you finish that. I want to go into it a little bit deeper. Right? So, your exam is a case study. They're going to ask you to comment. I'll show you one just now. I don't want to show you and not tell you what you're going to look at, right? So you want to give your opinion, and if they say comment on the moral duty of the supervisor or the manager or the CEO, folks, all you have to go and do is just see what they did. You could think of it as this. I'm going to put it in the bubble. One of the words out of the four, the most simplest word out of the four, we had human, we had writing, we had right, we had conscience, we had another word. But you can see then, you could put the word right here, like, were they doing the right thing? So when they say comment on the morals of the manager, you want to take this down for me, right thing. And somebody else is joining the class, right? The right thing to do. When you read the case study and it says the manager was shouting at the employee, then you can say, in my opinion, the moral duty of the supervisor was not being met, in that he was not showing a sense of caring for the employee as he was shouting at the employee. And folks, that's all you need. Remember, it's just like a short 2-line, 3-line, right? But you need like 10 of it. Let me just say another one. I'm actually not making this up, and this is actually me just remembering past papers, right? So if they say comment on the moral duty of the supervisor again, and you see the supervisor said, hurry up and get the job done. Another thing we have seen, do the investigation as quickly as possible. And you could say, in my opinion, the supervisor is not exercising his moral sense to humanity, right? In that he is saying, hustle up and get the inspection done. The focus is more on production rather than on safety. And folks, again, if you could just put that in 2 lines, 3 lines, that is what we are looking for. I'm going to build on that. I'm going to build on this answer though as the weeks go by. I just want you to understand today now what I wanted to get for today. Something you know already from last 2 weeks, right? The exam is a case study. What I wanted to know though is the most common verb is comment today. The rest of it you still know. The rest of it is like 1, 2, you need 10 answers for 10. Let's take a look at the passive. But yes, I know we have financial to do, but financial is easier than moral. We have about 20 minutes again. Right? Let's take a look at the passive. But now, folks, I told you I did not pre-plan, so I hope I don't put my foot in my mouth. But let's see where I put it, right? I had 3 classes before you all, so it's one of these things here. Okay, I got it, right? I would share these with you all, but I want to put some more content, like maybe one more class. One more class, and I'll give you a question to do, right? One more class, because you see today we touch risk, moral, and we're going to do financial. Now, those have questions on them, right? But I want you to understand what we have to do before you start doing the Rome thing then, right? Like, I want it, like, when I said bill on, there's something else I have to tell you in the answers then, right? That I'll try to get done probably next week. I'll try to finish financial two for you today. So we get some content behind us. So we get something to test. We get something to fall back on then in terms of content, right? All right, this is February paper. By the way, the result for this was the class who did this got 70% passes, right? 70% of them pass. So you see there's a scenario, that's one page. I may have done one of this for you for orientation. That's another page. That's another page, right? So what I said is that moral, legal, financial is a trending topic. If that is true, there should be a moral, legal, or financial question here. Number 1 is not it. Number 2 is not it. Number 3 is not it. Neither number 4. Number 5 it is. You see it? So I
Yes,
did
sir.
not lie to you. Yeah. In every paper, have a moral, legal. There's a reason why it's called a trending topic now. But we don't know which one coming. Like I would know if it's moral for you or legal or financial. You know, some students are so lucky. Listen to this, right? At the end of 4 months, they get 3 questions on the first day of class. You get 3 questions, moral, legal, financial. Some students are lucky. So there's a financial one. Look, there's a legal one. This is legal here. If you go back to this slide, you all have the slides. This is on the slide now. This is a legal question. So we could do this next week. Well, when I'm satisfied that you all know how to answer a question, right? Look, from the first, this week and next week. Number 7 is also a trending topic. Culture is a trending topic. They had 8 questions here. So the rest of them I could predict too, but I'm not Nostradamus, so I don't try to. I would try to stay within the safe confines of saying in every maths paper have a fraction in. So in every safety paper, it have a moral, legal, and financial question. The rest of them kind of hard to predict. Like procedural controls, this is a kind of weird question. This wouldn't come back. The rest of them difficult to predict, right? But there are trending topics like accidents. Accident investigation or accident is a trending topic. So let me see if there was one here. Procedural control. No. This like audit is not a trending topic. How audit come here, audit wouldn't come back again. Audit is a weird topic. It comes and it miss and it comes and it miss, etc. Right? All right, so you saw it here. Let's go and do financial then. So on this paper, there was no moral question, right? Like I said, they don't have to test all of them, but they test some of them. Moral, legal, financial are trending topics, right? Next week, what I'll do, right? Next week, because we're going to finish financial now. Next week, we will probably do legal and we'll come back and do a past paper. We try to tie in a past paper. As I told you all, this course is a different course. You cannot fool yourself in this course. You cannot say, I had a good class. That doesn't make sense. If you had a good class or a bad class, it don't make no difference to me. What matters to the end is could you all do the past papers to the end? You heard what I said, right? If you all sleep away in class, you don't sleep away. I don't business. What I business with is at the end, you could do the past paper quest. Well, first of all, I business if you learn something, right? But it still doesn't make sense if you learn and then you fail NIBOSH in the end. That doesn't make sense, right? So that's why every one of my classes, there is a past paper focus. Every one of them. Every one of them. Right? Let's go to financial. 3:45, right? 15 minutes again. So it took me 5 minutes to show you the past paper, right? So what I'll do, I will just explain. I'll read a bit and I'll explain. But if I read, you wouldn't understand. So it's best I explain. If you want, you can listen up a bit, right? I could explain it for you on the side here, or I could use one of these same diagrams here and I could explain it for you, right? So if you want, sit back a bit, listen to the little story a bit, right? So what happened here, right? This was around 1920. If you wonder what I'm talking about. This chart is a very old chart. This chart is around 1920, right? So a German, remember, like how we have the Americans flexing now, right? Back then, Germany was the world power now, right? Germany, started World War II, right? Of course, so Germany was the world power. All that you know to be NASA today was, of course, German scientists and stuff, right? So they were like on the edge of technology. Well, I'm sure you all know that NASA is the German scientists are mobile too, right? They're the edge of technology, edge of knowledge and whatever have you, right? So one of the guys' name was Heinrich, a psychologist. He put forward the theory that whenever an accident happens, you have two types of cost then. If you want to take this on with me, we could use some of the simpler words that he used first, right? He said there's a direct cost associated with the accident, and the direct cost is the cost that you see, like literally with your eyes, like you see. So if you look at the iceberg sort of scenario, if you see the part of the iceberg on top, that's what you see, right? God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, right? Let's say you see an accident and it's nobody you know, it's nobody you know, but let's pray for them still. But it's nobody you know. And you look at the vehicle, you can see the damages, you can see the damage to the bumper, you can see the damage to the fender, you can see fuel leaking from the vehicle, you can see that. The cost you can see is said to be the direct cost, right? That's what Heinrich said. Now, he also said that there is another cost associated with the accident. It's the one that you don't see, and he referred to that as the indirect cost of an accident. You could think of it as the knockdown costs, like things we don't think about at first, like somebody coming back and suing your company. Like you didn't think about that. Anybody saw WrestleMania? Anybody saw WrestleMania? You also WrestleMania? You all know what WrestleMania is? Anybody saw WrestleMania?
No.
No. You know who Stone Cold Steve
No, sir.
Austin is? You know who Stone Cold Steve Austin is?
Oh,
Yeah,
WrestleMania, yes, sir.
You all know who Stone Cold is, right? Stone Cold Steve Austin.
yes, sir.
Right. So you also
Yes,
in
sir.
getting to the ring, his ATV, whatever he did, like it didn't look like his ATV. Like he normally have a different ATV. Whichever one they gave him, for those of us who don't know the story, he ran into the barrier with it and he knocked down a fan. A fan that was at the event. Now, the people who are at the event, who are the front seat, pay lots of money to be there, right? So coming out of that is that, if you looked at it, you'd have seen him trying to talk to the fan. Even, I guess, one of the seniors at the WWE was, talking to the fan, because what they are fearing is that the person will come at them with a what? The person will come to them with a
Lawsuit or something.
with a lawsuit, right? So what I'm saying is that yes, there would have been the accident. What you could see, the lady didn't look as if she was physically damaged. But is people take you when they know you have money, when they know your company have money. Those of us even in Trinidad and Guyana, when Petrogen was around, even Paria being around, once you know a company have money, you're taking them to court because they know it have money. So that's what Heinrich said. What Heinrich said, there is the cost of an accident that you see, and there's a cost that you don't see. He referred to them as direct and indirect. By the way, I said the year was 1920. Initially, Heinrich said the indirect cost of an accident is going to be 36 times what you thought you was going to pay. So if you thought the bumper of the vehicle was going to be $3,000 or 9,000 Guyanese dollars, the cost of the accident then is going to be 36 times that. The indirect cost of the accident, right? Now, later on, of course, you know what happened to Germany. Later on, they change the figures. They say 8, they say 1 to 8. But those of us who are true to the original figure, they still put 8 to 36, right? People still agree it could be more than 8. Heinrich had said 36, but English psychologists later on changed it, and they changed the word from being direct to insured. They changed the word from being indirect to uninsured as well. But the words sort of mean the same thing. Direct is insured, indirect is uninsured, right? So what I did, I listed it out for you. Could I take that off? Anybody writing that down? No, you should probably write the word direct and indirect.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you finish, what I did, I actually wrote it out for you. So with 9 minutes to go, let me just show you how it is I wrote it out for you, right? And then I'll reflect to the past people. So I did them here for you. So what you can read out the slides. I have some direct costs. The direct cost is what you see. Damage to the building. You can see, okay, if it was a vehicle that reversed or something, they hit your gate, maybe part of the part that was inserted in the wall came out, damage to building, product, equipment, and vehicles, the absence of employees. Most companies in England have public liability insurance. I have as well. Companies in Trinidad should have it. I have public liability insurance. So if a worker is injured, they are somewhat insured then. So that the money is paid to them, I will get it back. Right? So that's called direct cost, because direct insured, because I can estimate it. Right? If we get back to the word C, a C means you can estimate. Direct means is a cost that is seen, the cost that is predictable. I can say 3 days off work, and the person be paid for 3 days off work because we could see it. It's seen. The indirect is what you don't see. The indirect is a person that goes over the 3 days, right? Comes back with a lawsuit. You didn't think about that. You would say to your fellow, worker, I didn't expect Frank to do that tonight. Or that 3 days Frank has gone home, Frank take a job somewhere else. That happened to me, happened to one of my workers here, right? That 3 days, the worker got home, the worker get a job somewhere. So you waiting for your worker, and then you say, but I didn't expect Kevin to leave. Kevin went home for 3 days, and so the things that you don't see, right? So I wonder what's wrong with that. What's wrong with Kevin leaving? What's wrong with the worker leaving, right? What I'm saying is this. That is what you did not see. The worker that left you may have been dealing with a client, and the client is dealing with Kevin. I just call him Kevin. We have a Kevin in the company here, right? So when Kevin goes, you all know what happens? The client goes with Kevin. So when you check in now, but I had $100,000 tender. Just making this up. I had $1 million tender. The man was just slightly injured. You didn't think about that. So that's why this year now, that loss, the loss of the client, that is what we call an indirect or an uninsured cost. Loss of a client, loss of your business, right? So you can think of it as what is predictable and what is not predictable, or what is known or unknown, or foreseeable or not foreseeable. Nibosh don't use those words. Nibosh use the simple words, direct and indirect. The most they may go to is insured and uninsured, right? So let's see what I have again on this slide. So some uninsured costs. I think I have a whole bunch of them. You can take them from here. Right? Sorry, my mistake. I went too far. So some uninsured costs, right? Accumulated business loss, product or process liability claims, recruiting now somebody like Kevin, replacing that staff member, starting from scratch, very hard to do for a company, right? Loss of goodwill, the accident may end up in the papers or the news, production delays, extra overtime payment,
Sir,
additional
excuse, I'm not hearing you.
administrative time. Sorry, Ishwar? Ishwar, sorry.
I'm not hearing you, sir.
Oh, could the rest of you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Ishwar,
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Loud and clear.
had it be,
Loud and clear.
yeah, Ishwar had it be something, and he was like, we don't have much function here. Let me see if I did anything. Sometimes I'm so busy teaching, but I didn't touch the
I'll log in out and log in back in.
Okay, all right, okay, no problem. I didn't touch the bar up there now. I'm down here anyway, drawing on the side here, right? Lower employee morale following an accident. How is that an uninsured cost? The workers may be working to rule. They may not be doing anything extra, no extra overtime, right? If you use up any first aid supplies, you may have to fill it back. So all of those things are the uninsured cost anyway, right? Anyway, it's 4 minutes to 4. So let's look at the past paper, right? Before we look at it, or in looking at it, because I have to kind of do the two at the same time now, right? In looking at it, what I'll tell you is that the more asks uninsured costs for exam, right? The more asks you uninsured costs for exam. folks, I wish I had a little bit more time with you all, right? Let's take a look at the past paper that I had, right? I wanted to say something else, but okay, I'll say it as I get in the past paper, right? Now, sometimes you have more answers in the past papers, When you read the question, right, when you read the question, it could actually tell you, sorry, when you read the case study, it can actually tell you some more answers than what the slide have.
So just so just scroll back up. I see something called this management of change. Just go up a little bit. Right,
Yeah, management of change.
change
Yeah,
change management controls.
yeah.
Okay.
Chapter 3. That's chapter 3. Chapter 3. Right? Chapter 3. Not chapter 1. Okay, so the question is here, but I want us to dissect this next week, not now. I'm still not too confident that you all know what you have to do as it or how you have to do it, right? But we read the question for the exam focus for now, right? Financial arguments to improve health and safety. Your proposal to senior management convinces them to provide resources for improving health and safety in the production area. What financial argument could have been used in this proposal? So what you have to go and do is go back and read the case study, which we don't have to do now, but we could do it next week, right? And we have to see then, like, what could we have said that could have saved the company money? It's kind of like the indirect cost. Now, if you look at it, they didn't say indirect, so we could give direct and indirect reasons why health and safety should have been improved, right? The trick is this, you just cannot give it. Remember, that's what I said, and you have to build on the answers of them. For you to get an answer, you have to tie it back into the scenario. That's what makes the exam day long. You just cannot get 15 answers for this enough. You have to go and read the case study and see what was happening. And then you have to say, okay, well, if they could have saved equipment and if they could have saved money by purchasing a new equipment, even though it was more expensive, but they could have saved money, they could have saved a fine, they could have saved an inspector giving the company a fine, then that is one of the arguments he could have used, and that would just be one of them, right? So how to find it? I'm just going to tell you how. I'm not going to show you because it's how to find it. You have to go up in the case study and you have to find those 15 points then that could have been improved on, or 15 things then. And that is what takes the exam whole day. The exam itself is not hard, but finding the things is what does take hard, or does take long, or be hard, or what people see to be hard. Some students tell me they take, remember, I don't know if you know, I don't know if you know this, at the end of the exam, we have a meeting with you all. Some students say they take till morning, from like 7 a.m. in the morning to 2 a.m. the following day, right? Yeah, there's a technique. The thing is, you just cannot give 15 answers. It have to tie in. It have to tie
So I
in.
think
Yeah.
because I think we were saying so last 2 weeks here in the first session, you said the answers are there, but you have to read the case study over and over
And find it and tie it in, yeah.
and find it and then tie it in. And then after, if I'm correct, you elaborate on each point.
So, yeah, but just about 2-3 lines. So it's really a trick. It's just a trick to say that you have to find it and just tie it back as quick as possible. So it's not a paragraph you're writing. It's like 3-4 lines on each point, and 15 of that. That's what does take time, right? As I'm talking to you all, I'm trying to see if you could find something here. The financial arguments or something where they talk about. You see, and it's a kind of read between the line. That's why it's kind of tertiary level. But here's what, today is just your first class. Today was your first real class. I don't want to teach the whole thing in one day. It's actually 4 o'clock. If I gotta find an easy one, I'd have seen one. But you have to twist them. You have to make them, you have to twist them to see what was happening here.
So
I didn't read it word by word, line by line. So that's what takes us time. And that's what takes you time as well. Yeah, go ahead. I'll have to stop. I don't think I want to do a live one because it wasn't the aim today anyway. Yes, go ahead.
just looking at the end of the last few sentences with the decrease from the from the equipment change, you could possibly say that because they changed out the equipment, the efficiency would have gone up, which would have been production could have also increased, which means more income for the company.
Yeah.
Correct?
So that's perfect. Like the way you said it there is how you have to do it. Right? I would have liked you to write it out for you so that I know that you all do it. But again, time is against us, right? So, like I said, it wasn't today to do a passive, but today was to do what I did, which is I told you all I wanted to do risk, moral, and financial. So I've achieved what I wanted to do for today. I, however, cannot find your role. Let me just see if the coordinator took it. Oh, I got it. All right. She put it on top here. All right. Once you hear your name, you can say present and you can leave. We have been here since 2:30. Again, thanks for your time. Folks, one step at a time, right? We'll get here. It's not as hard as you think. It's just a little bit long to find the answers at the end of the day, right? Ambika,
Present.
thanks very much. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Devon,
Bye.
Burrows, yeah, okay. Devon,
Present.
thanks, Devon.
Present.
Yeah, good. Cedranessa, one of our
Present, sir.
students from Guyana. Thanks very much, Cedranessa. Justin Mirage.
Present.
Thanks, Justin. Justin, you missed the first class.
No, I reviewed the video on YouTube.
Okay, well, I put you present. Okay, yeah. Janelle Jack.
Present.
Thanks very much, folks, for leaving us. Do enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Ryan Moore.
Present.
Thanks, Ryan. Videsh Arju Singh.
Present.
Thanks, Videsh. Andre Wells.
Present.
Thanks, Andre. Emily Gopal. Carissa Joseph.
Present.
Thanks, Carissa. Sangita, I think she told me she was going to be absent. She's also in Guyana. Chelsea Harilal. I didn't make out Chelsea in class today. Chelsea. Brittany Ramdas. Remember, I know some of you because you registered you all now, right? Brittany Ramdas. In fact, most of you all I registered you all and dealt with you all, right? Brittany's not. Brittany, I think Brittany's here and I saw Brittany. Brittany is.
Sir, excuse.
Sure.
Is it okay if on the chat on WhatsApp, if I post examples of the risk assessments, SSOWs, management of change, or will that go against your
I have no problem with it. I just don't know if the people would understand it. We could put one or two for them, right? Remember, again, those things will be taught. So, it's fine to put it. It's just that remember, sometimes we have like new students here. It's like if you have a management a change thing, then they mightn't understand what it is. Today, though, if anybody wants, you could post a risk matrix, so at least everybody know what that is. But
I already did.
don't put too much of things. And those of us who are in safety, because remember, even a simple thing like a risk assessment template, some students would know what that is. Some people don't know what that is, right? So don't put it if you don't think about if they will understand it, right? And you can post it as we do it. So like as we do RAs, you can post the RA template. You can put it like that. Otherwise, it may just end up being a mass of things. And the number one thing is that the people who don't know what it is will not know what it is anyway. Yeah. But you could post something on the risk matrix. You can post a lot of jobs if you all find them. I try to post some as well. If you find any, you can share the jobs and whatever have you as well. Brittany was here, right? I told you I know the person, but probably she don't have a mic, right? So she's present. Wayne is here.
Present, sir.
Yeah, right. Brittany Modest. Yeah, there are two Brittany's in this class. Brittany Modest. Not too sure which one I saw just now, right? Vidal Joseph.
Present.
Ishwar is here. Paige Fortune.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. Yes, thanks, Ishwar. Paige Fortune. We have Carol Valdez. I know she's here. Daryl, I didn't see Daryl in the live today. I know Daryl personally. I didn't see him, right? Shivan Suklal.
Present, sir.
Thanks very much, Ivan. Shanika James.
Present, sir.
Shanika, you're also in Guyana, right?
No.
No, you're in Trinidad. Okay, right. You're the one who came. Okay, I remember you now, right? Okay. Aliyah. Okay, I seen Aliyah to the top there, right? Rishon Suknanan. Seen Rishon, seen Aliyah. Anthony. So Anthony. Wayne Ramdat. Okay, Christine, I need to add you to the list. Christine, this is your first class.
Yes, it is. But I did the
Yeah.
review already.
Right. Okay, I'll put you present for the both sessions. Christine, the last name is what again? Rampasad.
Rampasad, but with a U.
With a U, okay. But we
Yeah,
have the
because I'm from
documents here,
Guyana
right?
also.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
have, once we have the documents, like, I guess we should get it correct. Ishwar is here. Aliyah is here. Mark, Anthony, I have you present already, right? So I think that's everybody, folks. Is anybody in the live who did not hear your name? I am kind of talked because I've been talking for the whole day. The voice kind of song and a bit hoarse, right? But I think I have everybody, right? So folks, enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you all back next week, Saturday. All the best, everyone. Bye.